folks, this is an interesting deal here. I was gonna make this, and I decided, you know what, maybe I'll make a video and put it on YouTube. So, welcome to the channel. I'm gonna record this. This is a automatic chicken waterer, and I will say that I did see a video on YouTube of how to do this, but I think I can do it a little bit more efficiently and kind of explain that process in a little easier of a way, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I have a bunch of chickens and ducks, and I want to make sure that I can feed them or give them water, and to the point where they always have water, and I don't have to just keep filling it up every day or whatever. It'll just be on a float system, and excuse the mess. My table is a total disaster right now, and the last thing I'd want to do is present this to the world, but here I am. So I just wanted to show you guys this automatic float valve. If you have any animal, this would work for horses, goats, any livestock you have. This system will work. It's an automatic float valve from Little Giant, and I can put a link to this below, but you can really go to any farm store, and they typically have these. And I like to use the metal ones. They have a plastic version. Might as well just go with the metal one. This was only $22.95 at my local feed store. So what we want to do, and normally, and if you have, like, let's say I'm going to use this big bucket here, I'm going to be cutting holes in this. Now, if you're giving a horse or something, you know, all you have to do is hook these clamps to it, and then you can hang this on the bucket, on the edge of the bucket like this, and it'll just sit there, you know, for taller animals that are just going to be drinking out of the bucket, and that works great. But for me, if I'm going to use this big bucket with chickens and ducks, is what I need to do. So I need to mount this lower into the bucket. So I'm going to show you what I do to do that. The first thing I want to do is I want to take some tape to these holes back here, and I'm going to put this, when I put this in here, I'm going to use the top holes. So I want it to be this is going to be the lower part. We want to use these top holes if we're actually going to mount this inside of the bucket. So what I want to do is I want to take some painter's tape. I'm going to tape off this, and I want to try to get it on here level. So I'm just going to do a strip of tape like that, okay, like this, over those two holes. I'm going to take my Sharpie, and I'm going to find the hole, and I'm just going to draw a hole backed up. Now I have my template. That's all I have to do. Take this off. I'm going to take my tape measure, and I'm going to measure for birds that I want. They're going to need to be able to walk up here and put their head in here. I'm going to drill holes here. They're going to walk up, put their heads in. The water level is going to be right at the bottom of those holes. Because what I want to do is I want to measure 9 inches. I want those holes to be at 9 inches. Okay? This is what I've already made one of these. I made it with a 5-gallon bucket, so this time I'm going to do it with a bigger bucket. So what I want to do here is mark 9 inches with my Sharpie on the bucket, on the bottom. Okay, and we have 9 inches coming in right about here. Okay, and all I'm going to do is take my piece of tape, and I want these holes to line up with that 9-inch mark. All right, so I'm going to put this on here, and I want to make sure it's as level as possible. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it with. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, it's just we just want it on there. I'm going to just eyeball. I want these holes to line up with that 9-inch mark. So that looks pretty darn level to me. Just like that, okay? Now, I'm going to take my drill. Let me grab my drill here. Actually, here's my drill bit. I'm just going to use a little impact. I do have another drill with my hole saw on it, and you'll see that when I cut these holes for the. I'll show you how I do that and make sure we get all that level and get it right. But first thing I want to do is just get this float mounted here. So I'm going to drill through these black holes. There's one. There's two. Okay, easy as that. I'm going to take some machine screws. Okay. And these they're 1.5 inches long. They have a washer and a nut. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I want to put these screws in first before I install the float itself, because since I'm going to these top holes, the hose is going to insert right here. I'm going to these top holes. Once I get this float in here, I obviously won't be able to get those screws up in there, right? So we want to put these screws in first. I'm going to put the screw in. You want to put the screw head in from the inside, okay? So I'm going to throw this in here. I do want a washer on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put a washer on here. I'm going to snap this up in here like that. And one more. Okay. Just like so. Alright. And what I want to do now that those screws are in here, now I want to install that float. Okay, because obviously I can't install that float if this is upside down in the bucket and I can't see what's going on. So, float, pretty easy. You drop it in here with a little pen that it comes with. And it's going to come with a bunch of hardware. If you're doing this, you're going to disregard all the hardware this came with except for the pen. Now, if you're going to go with the mounting brackets for bigger livestock, obviously you just do that and you're done, right? And we don't have to do anything like this. But for this case, for the chickens and the ducks, I'm going to go ahead and take this bobby pin and stick it through this hole right here. And get this installed. Pretty easy. Alright, poke that in. And take a pair of needle nose pliers. Now, I'm just going to bend down that bobby pin so it doesn't go anywhere. I want to take this float, turn it up the way that it's supposed to be, okay, like this, and then of course the float drops down as the water fills, it comes up and it stops the water, okay? Go ahead and I can remove this tape now. Okay, stick these in the holes. And then put the nut on. Okay, and you got it coming through. Now hopefully for obvious reasons, excuse the spit, and I do got a dip in. I'm just a little redneck boy. Now, and I don't condone that type of behavior. Pretty stupid really. Little nut, and hopefully you're seeing now why you have to put these screws in from that side, because you won't be able to get this nut threaded on if you put the heads in from this side. Does that make sense? So I got my screws sticking out here, and then I'm just going to thread my nuts on. Okay, and you can get your finger up in here to hold, and this doesn't have to be super tight. That's just the whole point. We're using that the top holes there, so we don't really have to worry about, there's not going to be any leaking because the water is never going to come up to that level up here. The water will never get to as high as these screws are. So really, this only needs to be hand tight. And it's pretty easy to just hand tighten. So we don't need it to be cranked down, all right? Just as good as you can get by hand, and that's all you need. All right. Get those bad boys threaded in there. Okay, and now just like that, we're really almost done. Is all we have to do next. We'll take you in and we'll show you the next step here. Okay, you have it mounted in here now. It's tight. Even just by hand, it's tight. All right, got the screws sticking out here. Bam, bam. All right, no big deal. Let's go on to the next step. The next step is I'm going to fill this water up to where it needs to be. And then once that water stops, I'll cut my holes. So I don't have to take any measurements here, all right? This is going to be really easy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and thread my hose into here. Now, I would highly suggest you get a quick disconnect, which is what I'll do here eventually, is put a quick disconnect on this before I actually run it. That way I don't have to do this nonsense. It'll just be snap on, snap off. Let me get this screwed on here real quick and then I'll come back. Okay, we got the hose on. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. It's going to fill up. I'll let that fill up and then I'll resume. Alright, and now as you can see from the outside, hopefully you can see in the video, you can see the water line here, right? So we don't need to take any measurements. We only needed that one measurement of 9 inches. That's where we wanted that to be. So now we know once this stops, it's going to be at the level we want. And we're just going to drill our holes with our hole saw directly above that water. We want the bottom of that hole to be right on that line. Just to the point where it's not overflowing, but it could almost just leak out, but it won't. Betty Boop. Girlies. Chichos. Hello, girls. Okay, it's full. As you can see, the water level never comes up high enough to reach these screws, so there's no leaking coming out of here. That's why we use the top screws, not the bottom ones. If you were to do this on the bottom screw holes, then you would be leaking water out everywhere. Wham bam, there's one. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that off, and then I'll show you how it works. Okay, now you see I have 7 perfect holes. You know, 7's the Lord's number, and that's what we're doing right now is the Lord's work. All right, and this is, you know, we eyeballed it, but it looks good. Okay, and as you can see, they can stick their little chi-chi heads right in here, and you know how they do it. And they lap it up. So I'm going to take this razor blade. I'm going to cut off all the excess, okay, on all these holes. And then is what you want to make sure to do is leave all this plastic in here and on the ground. Don't clean this at all. Just leave it all in there and then let them drink it. Obviously, right? All right, that's a joke. That's a terrible joke. We're going to clean this up really good after this. We just wanted to fill this, get the water level, get this done, empty it, clean it out really well. Make sure to pick up all this plastic so your birds don't eat it, because they will. Okay, got all those cleaned up real nice. Almost looks like a machinist did it or something. Okay, I don't know why that would be. And then we're going to go ahead and screw on our quick disconnect, just like that. We'll take our other side of that to the hose we want to use down at the barn, and we'll go from there. I just want to mention, this was obviously easy, I hope. I mean, it was really easy. I mean, Ray Charles, blindfolded, drunk on a foggy night, could have done this. I guess I should also just show you how I'm going to clean it. I'm not just going to go dump this thing. For one, it's pretty freaking heavy, okay, so I can't just take it and go dump it, but I'm going to go ahead and scoop out all this plastic stuff first. And make sure that I'm not just dumping that into the ground. I don't want it there. So I'm going to go dispose of this somewhere where I know the chickens aren't going to get to it. And then that's pretty much it. And then I'll go ahead and sweep up the ground and get rid of all this plastic stuff. Goldie boy! Okay, I've got most of the plastic all cleaned up around here. I scooped most of it out of here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and dump this out. And I'll clean it up real good. While I'm walking by the chicken coop, I'll go ahead and just show you my 5-gallon system here. Okay, so this is the first one I made for the chicken coop. I did try using, you guys maybe have seen this. This thing is definitely trash. I would never suggest anybody get one of these waterers. You can hook a hose to it, but you would have to add your own float to do an auto system, and this just makes a mess in your coop. So if your water is in your coop, you don't want something like this. This is the 5-gallon version, literally the same exact concept, same thing. And as soon as the chickens go and drink out of it, well, it just automatically refills itself. And yes, I am just using this as a lid right now. Definitely a good idea to cover so nothing falls in there or whatever. So now we have, hello Chi-Chis, got all my babes over here. Hello little ones. Hello. They're the cutest. Okay, so here's my clean bucket. And we're gonna take that down to where the duckies are because I wanna make sure, so I'm gonna actually show you too my old watering system for the ducks, which is also trash. And if I wanna leave town, does not work for more than a day or two. And that would be this goofball situation right here. That is the duck water 3-gallon. This is Little Giant. Of course, all these are Little Giant products. That water I just showed you in the coop's a Little Giant. That's what you need right there. Forget all the other crap. So we'll go ahead and set this thing up. You know, somewhere level. That ain't it. Let me get a level spot here. And then that's pretty much it. You know, we'll fill this thing up. And then maybe I'll try to get a video of the birds actually using it when they come and notice that it's here. Now, I do want to mention it's nice to find some shade for this. I don't have the best spot down here where I want it. Obviously, the duck pool is in the water. It's in the sun, excuse me, pretty much for the whole first half of the day. And then once the sun kind of rolls around behind the barn, all this will be completely shaded for the second half of the day, or, you know, the last quarter of the day. But I did build this little feeder deal for my ducks to keep their food, you know, off the ground and in the shade at all times, and then, you know, water partially. But it really is it's nice to have an area with shade. So if you can do that, obviously do that. You don't want the water getting boiling hot. This is going to be a decent area for now. Obviously this is movable. I'm just going to set it right on the ground here. I'm going to fill it up right here, and that'll give everybody access. If it has to be in the direct sunlight, it has to be in the direct sunlight, unfortunately. And then of course, when we're talking water, you know, obviously the shorter the hose, the better. And then, you know, to keep that water in the hose from heating up and dumping hot water into this. But there's going to be so much water in here that I'm not really worried about when it has to top itself off. Like, that heat from that water is not going to just heat the whole bucket up, if that makes sense. So yeah, not ideal as far as heat goes. Okay, so I just realized that I don't have the hose that I want to use for this, and it's what I'm going to do is I'm going to order a different hose, and I'll come back and I'll finish this. So for the meantime, I'm just going to fill that up with water for them by, you know, with just the hose. Because what I want to show you is this hose that I like, little braided line. I like these little braided line hoses, and you can order these at like any size you want. As you can see, this one's like 6 feet long, and I have this here as exactly for the problem that I just spoke about over here at the coop. And when it's hot outside, I come over here and I crank this on just a little bit, and I keep just a trickle on here like that, and that way the hose water never has time to sit in there and get hot. So I'll probably go ahead and run the same system down at the, this is a little bypass, little hack, okay, to keep your water nice and fresh and cool all the time. Keep that hose steady flowing out, okay. Put a little splitter there, run the shorty to the, you know, whatever you need to do. So what I want to do is I want to order another one of these, probably about 12 feet long, and I'll hook it down to that one down there, and then we'll go ahead and finish this video off, and we'll get it shared up, and I hope you guys enjoy it and learn something from this. Duggies! That's the Cheddar Boy and Pearl Girl. Yep, my only 2 ducks right now. I'd like to get more, they sure are fun. I will be incubating my own eggs. That's what I do with my chickens. I don't buy chickens, I breed them when I need more. And I plan to do the same with these guys. My duck pen definitely needs some revisions before I start breeding. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty level. You know, the water just comes and sits right under those holes. Obviously, when I get the right hose on here, we will have the auto set up. We do need to figure out a way to cover this so the chickens don't think they can just jump up here and roost on it and then, you know, obviously poop in the water and stuff. So Got to find a plate or a piece of wood just to lay over the top of this. Is what I'll end up doing is I'll drill a hole in it or whatever I decide to do. That way the hose can run through the lid. So that's pretty much it. Maybe you just get the point, and I don't need to wait till I get the hose, but I will go ahead and I will probably just finish this video now. You get the point. And then I will put a link to the hoses also, as well as this, in the description below if you guys are interested in doing this. And of course, just use any bucket you can find. 5-gallon buckets work fine. 5-gallon buckets are probably even better to manage. The only downside is you can't put as many holes in them. If you have a big flock, maybe you have to have multiple of those. But they are going to be easier to clean when the time comes, dump out and clean and stuff like that. This is obviously fairly heavy with being halfway, almost probably a little more than halfway full. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for this one. I don't know what I'm going to call the channel yet. Maybe like Little Redneck Boy or something. I don't know. Or maybe just like real dude doing real human things for people that don't waste their time watching mindless TV and mindless scrolling on social media. Because, you know, anybody using their brain realizes how stupid all that is. And, you know, those kind of people probably aren't going to watch this video, and they're probably not farming. You know, they're probably not trying to live a sovereign lifestyle. So, with all that said, you guys, that's what my channel is going to be about. If I continue to post videos on this thing, it's probably not just going to be all about farming. I think it's probably just going to be about real dudes or real humans doing real human stuff, because that's what I like to watch. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there that like to watch that too, instead of all the crap that the mainstream media pushes on you and the government and all that. Well, we ain't about that here, all right? Not about none of that. There ain't no TV. There ain't no cable in my house, all right? I have a projector, and I hardly watch that. And when I do, it's YouTube, watching real people doing real people stuff, because that is what life's all about. All right, you guys, God bless you. Hope you learned something in this video. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.